What's up, guys? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Black people. I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and Black Business School. And I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C. I'm about to go on the show today called The Rock Newman Show. In case you guys don't know Rock Newman, you should know about this guy. I think his show's on PBS, and it's really good. He's kind of like a black Charlie Rose. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers Charlie Rose, but Charlie Rose was this white dude who used to do these really intelligent interviews with people, and it's like a really cool style. It's kind of a little bit like what we do with Intellectual Chocolate when I bring people in. It's sort of like, let's sit down and really think and kind of flesh it out. Because I'm gonna tell you the truth, I don't really think there's a lot of spaces out here where Black people are encouraged to think. I really don't. I think that everything's like, that Cardi B bullshit, and let's just go in and get crunk and get lit and get high and get drunk and and just act stupid or whatever. Like, I think that's kind of what is fed to Black people. I think Black people is kind of, people look at us as a big group of teenagers, where all we want to do is talk about the little kid stuff, while white people are doing the grown-up shit. White people are doing the important stuff. So we end up kind of sitting in the back of the bus a lot of times because we ain't trying to drive the bus. We don't, we're just like, oh, well, I'm just gonna sit in the back and be polite and quiet and hope that white people like me, and that hopefully one day they'll, give me jobs and stuff like that, and then I'll be okay, and whatever. So I personally think Black people have to start taking agency in our lives. I think honestly that's why. I probably sound radical when I say let's kick white people out for a little bit and let's work on ourselves. It doesn't mean I'm hateful to anybody. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I do not embrace any ideology that hates other people just because of who they are, just because they white or whatever. I don't get into that, because hatred, I'm not built on hatred. Hatred does not resonate with me, because hatred is a heavy burden to carry. At the same time, I am a person who says there are times where white people don't need to be around, because we as Black people have to build our own. We've got to develop our own nation mentally, not so much physically, not to the point where we're leaving the U.S. government or denouncing our U.S. citizenship, but to the point where we kind of say, how do you run a society? How do you run a community? How do you run a country? How do you run a nation? How do you run, something that is just all yours? How do you figure out how everything works? Because if you never go through that process of kind of figuring out how everything works, then you're always sort of dependent. You're always deeply entrenched in these systems that are not always necessarily beneficial to you or people like you. So anyway, before we jump into today's topic, I want you to do me a favor real quick. Please hit that thumbs up button. If you're on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button. I see Carrie says she's from New York City. Good morning to you in New York City. I cannot wait to go back to New York. I love New York. Oh my God. I love New York. My favorite part of New York, I ain't gonna lie, is Brooklyn. I like all the boroughs. I have great relationships in all the boroughs. But Brooklyn just really touched my heart, because those people in Brooklyn came out in mass, when we did our event. I mean, flooded the place, and they were so intelligent and so diligent and so ready for war. And these are the Black people that I really like and I love to hang with, because these are the ones that are going to push our community forward. All these Negroes on TV just talking, they're just pretty much recycling the same bullshit that we've been fed for hundreds of years. I like to see people that are innovative and coming up with new ideas and executing those ideas. I'm talking about, I don't really care. I respect somebody who's got a little business that's making $50, but they're grinding their ass off to get it off the ground. I respect somebody like that far more than I respect a Negro who has a high-paying job. Doesn't mean high-paying jobs ain't cool. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, when you're just out there in the battlefield and you built something that's real and you're making it better every day, putting your blood, sweat, and tears into it, that gives me so much respect for you. So this is for everybody out there that got the little business that don't look like it's never gonna go nowhere. Where your company ain't got two nickels to rub together. Your little project, looks like it ain't never gonna get off the ground. This is for you. You are the heroes of the community. You're a bigger hero to me than Barack Obama or all these other people can ever be. Not that I dislike Barack Obama. I'm not trying to say he's a bad guy. I'm just trying to say he ain't really doing nothing for Black folks. He ain't really doing nothing to really rebuild for black people. All he's able to do, unfortunately, people like him are able to do is achieve integration for black people. And because they'll never, like, you'll never hear Barack Obama say, okay, all the white people need to get, all the white people need to get the fuck out so that we can build as black people. Like, Barack can't say that. Barack can't say that. In fact, for him to put out all the white people, he'd have to cut himself in half and put half of his body out the door because he, you know, his mom was white. So you can't even expect that man to do that. That wouldn't even be right to ask him, like, cut yourself in half so you can have a black meeting. Like, that ain't cool. I'm kidding. There's actually a lot of us got white blood in us, so it's not a fault of his. But anyway, so hit that thumbs up button. Also, don't forget, if you want to get a text message when I go live, text my name. This is important to do this because I was reading an article the other day about how the government and big tech companies work together to kill the platforms of anybody that has a message that is not popular. Anybody who says anything that's unpopular, I think they call it deplatforming or something. I forgot what they call it, but they mentioned the situation with Alex Jones, this right-wing gay guy named Yiannopoulos or something. I forgot his name. Is crazy name. And they even talked about Mark Lamar Hill, who's actually was a protege of mine. We don't get along as much, you know, in terms of agreement or seeing eye to eye, but they, you know, every time they get mad at him, they take his platform. So I want us to be protected from that. And the way we're going to be protected is I'm going to have multiple ways to get in touch with you. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do either one of two things or both. If you really want to, you know, be in there. One, just text Boyce to 31996. That way I can text you when I go live, and I ain't got to wait to see if YouTube decides that day that they want to let you know that I'm live. I don't want to depend on YouTube because they could take my YouTube channel. They could take my Twitter page. They could take my Instagram. They could take my Facebook, right? They could take everything, I guess, but at least we would have backups on top of backups on top of backups. So take 1 second, just text in your phone, type Boyce and the number and text it to the number 31996. That's how I can let you know on the spot when I'm live. Another way you can get videos emailed to you, stuff like that, is if you go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net, and you sign up on that list. And what happens when you sign up at drboycewatkins.net, you will also get a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. So that's free for you, just a gift from me. Read it with your kids and your family over Christmas, and it'll raise your game 10 notches. It'll take you to that next level, because I'm telling you, I'm 47 years deep. I got 47 years worth of game that I want to drop on black people. I am a super highly educated black man who's almost 50 years old, which sounds really old, but I've been doing push-ups and sit-ups and running. So I guess maybe I'm younger than most 40-something-year-olds. But at the same time, like, I got all this game, all this knowledge that I've been stacking in my brain for a very long time. And I want you to have it at an early age so that you can figure things out sooner than I did. And some of y'all are older than me, and maybe I can help you figure out how to go out strong, right? How to finish the game strong. Somebody asked, do I have Telegram? A Telegram group. I do not have that yet. I think I'll research that. I'm going to see what's up with that. I didn't know Telegram was an avenue, or WhatsApp and all that could work for this, but shit, why not? Let me look into it. Okay. So anyway, okay, Marty Girl says that ain't old. Well, yeah, it's not old if you're not old. If you're my age, then it's not old. But if you're young, it seems like you're 100,000 years old. But look, if you're in here and you're 25 years old, just know one day you're gonna wake up and you'll be 45, and you'll be like, what happened? I'm the 25-year-old, I'm the kid. And the 25-year-olds will be like, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And you'll be like, oh my God, they're calling me ma'am and sir. It's life. That's kind of how it works. Okay, so let me talk about what I wanted to jump into today. I wanted to kind of touch on this sacred cow of a topic that I was hesitant to really address this, because I wanted to process my thinking. And I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. It has to do with Colin Kaepernick. Look, I certainly don't want to hurt Colin Kaepernick's feelings or to disparage Colin Kaepernick, because I like this guy a lot. I like what he's done, as an athlete. He did more than what a lot of athletes would do. He took a risk, and I think the risk has paid off for him. He was taking a knee. Now, well, it was taking a stand, but taking a knee, right? Same thing, right? He was standing up by kneeling down, and getting the attention drawn to the police brutality issue. Now, y'all know what happened at that point. White people kind of, they were acting white. Not all white people, just the bad ones. They were acting white, and they pretty much said that his whole take a knee protest, that it wasn't, they didn't talk about police brutality at all. They do what they always do. They do what they always do. When race issues come up and they're, it's like an authentic race issue, most white people deflect. They will literally act like you did not say it. Like you will say, but what about reparations? And they'll start talking about like what they have for lunch. You say, what about, what about the wealth gap? The fact that whites have so much more wealth than black people. And they'll start talking about, whether the Lakers won last night, right? Like white people will literally deflect the shit out of black issues because they just don't want to address it. And so basically, Colin Kaepernick takes a knee and he's like, I'm taking a knee to draw attention to police brutality. And white people are like, well, why are you protesting the flag? You can't. That's an un-American. You can't be protesting the flag. Like, what are you, a communist? You're disrespecting the flag. And Colin say, no, I'm not disrespecting the flag. I'm protesting police brutality. Black people are being shot. It's very important. It's a big deal to me. And they're like, you're not a patriot. You don't love America. Trump is like, these sons of bitches need to be fired, right? And then and then Cap's like, no, and everybody's like, no, we like America. Actually, black people, we look at the history. Go read, Claude Anderson's Black History Reader. Black people are the most patriotic people in this country. Like shit, we've been dying for a country that don't even like us. So no, we're not unpatriotic. We're just drawing attention peacefully. We're using our freedom, our right to peacefully protest to draw attention to the fact that our babies are being shot in the head for no reason. Well, why would you hate America? Why do you hate America? Why are you protesting the flag and all this country has done for you, right? And that's white deflection. That's how white people deal with racism. Is the way white people deal with racism is they don't deal with racism. The way white people deal with racism is they deal with it with shallow conversations or non-existent dialogue, right? Or they deflect the shit out of the topic because they don't want to address the topic. And so, but just to make that quick point, I'm going to actually open up the Black History Reader, which is a book by Dr. Claude Anderson. And there's a point he makes in this book where he talks about how black people are the most patriotic people ever. I don't understand it entirely. A lot of y'all though are veterans though, and I want to make sure this is abundantly clear. I always, whenever I meet you, and I know that you served, I always say thank you for your service, because everybody want to talk shit about military, but ain't none of y'all going out here putting your life on the line trying to protect this country. So thank you so much. If you are a veteran, shout it out. Let everybody know. I served in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. I want to say thank you for your service. So I want to make that 100% abundantly clear. I don't care what nobody says about that. But let me see if I can find where he talks about patriotism in black people. Do a favor, hit the thumbs up button if you're on YouTube while I look this up. I'm gonna try to see if I can find it. Dang it, I should have probably looked it up before I came on the air, huh? But yeah. Anyway, in this book, he talks about black people being the most patriotic of all people. Let me see. Let me try the appendix or the index, or what do they call it? Let me see. Patriotism. Here we go. 106. All right. So page 106. So if you open up your Black History Reader, if you don't have it yet, I think powernomics.com is where Dr. Anderson sells his book. And it should be the first history book that your children read, because this is real history. They're not going to teach this stuff in school. They will never invite Dr. Claude Anderson to come speak at your children's white school. Just know this. Just know that they would not bring Dr. Anderson to speak to your children's white school, because once your children got the truth about blackness in America, their heads might explode and they might go off and bitch slap their teacher. So that's why. So for the safety of the teachers, to protect them from a good bitch slapping, they keep people like Dr. Anderson and myself, and others out of the public schools. So if you want your children to get real history, real black history, have them, just buy the books, make them read it, offer them $20. Say, hey son, I'll give you $20 if you read this book. Kids will do, if your kids are like kids in my house, they'll do anything for money. All right. So anyway, here we go. So he says, which ethnic group or racial group in America has a proven record of being the most patriotic? He says, patriotism is the devoted love, support, loyalty, and defense of one's country. It is ironic that after 24 generations of suffering slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, and benign neglect on public policies, Black Americans hold a proven and unchallengeable track record of patriotism. Proven and unchallengeable track record of patriotism that stands head and shoulders above any ethnic, racial, or religious group. They have proven themselves the oldest and most patriotic group in a number of ways. First, Blacks were the unpaid labor engine that drove the socioeconomic development of this nation. Blacks were the unpaid labor class that cleared the land, raised the crops, and built the roads, bridges, canals, and public buildings. Their blood, sweat, tears, and overworked bodies forever connected them to this nation's land. The second reason Blacks are the most patriotic group is that over 99% of them in America are direct descendants of slaves, which means they were here building and fighting for this nation before 99% of Europeans, Asians, Hispanics, and their descendants ever arrived in this country. So we've been serving America before all these motherfuckers got here. We were like the employee at the job where everybody gets there at 9 and he says, I've been working for 8 hours straight, and people ain't even got there and sat down in their chairs yet. Like, seriously. Anyway, the third reason, I remember, you know what it reminds me of? I was in my PhD program, and I remember I was so determined to beat these white boys in my class. They were a bunch of racist sons of bitches. Not all of them, but a few of them were. And I was so determined to beat them in my classes. I remember one night, and I did this on a regular basis. I would just stay all night in the office. Everybody else would go home 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock. I would stay there all night. I put a little mattress and a pillow in my office, and I stayed there all night. And I remember, and I didn't want them to know that. I didn't want them to think I was weird. And so I studied all night long, and I went to sleep for a couple hours, and I woke up. It's about 8 in the morning. I was walking downstairs to go home and take a shower, and I ran into one of the other students, and he had just come in. You know, his hair was slicked back like he had just washed it, and he had a cup of coffee in his hand, and he was ready to start his day. And I said, hey, what's going on? And we talked for a minute, and I said, okay, all right, well, I'm gonna go to bed now. I'll see you later. And he said, and he turned, he was like, you were here all night? Like he was surprised because he thought that we had both come in at the same time. And I remember my cover was blown, but that's what it makes me think about. It makes you think about like Black people are like that in America. Like we're the person on the team who got there 8 hours before the day even began. You know, like all these people that are getting benefits ahead of Black people in America right now, all these immigrant groups that are being put ahead of you right now don't have the history and the legacy of supporting this country the way we have, right? So that's something that you can make fun of it if you want to. Like some people would say, oh, that's silly. Why would we do so much for a country that hasn't done much for us? That's true. Yeah, but I mean, since your ancestors already paid the price, you might as well benefit from it. All right. So let me see. What else is in here? The third reason Blacks are the most patriotic group is that they are the only population group that has fought in every military engagement and major war in defense of this country since it was founded. We're the only group, Black people are the only group who has fought in every single war in the history of this country. Crispus Attucks, a Black man, was the first to die in the Revolutionary War of Independence. Today, in the 21st century military engagements, Blacks make up a large portion of the military. Fourth, and most notably, of all the major political and ethnic groups in America, Black Americans are probably the only group whose countries of origin have not engaged the United States in war. So we're one of the few places where even the country we came from has not attacked the United States. You know, so you know, we're deep in this patriotic thing, or this patriotism thing. Throughout the centuries, the United States has engaged in wars with Spain, England, France, Canada, Germany, China, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Korea, Japan, Italy, Russia, the islands of the Pacific, Vietnam, American Indians, and a host of Middle Eastern countries. It has never been in a declared war with a Black African country. What other racial or ethnic group can make that claim? So not only have we been more patriotic and more committed to America than anybody else, we have not engaged in any form of unpatriotic activity in the sense of trying to destroy America. We have never been from a country so think about this. I mean, this is what he's saying. He's saying that when it comes to the racial hierarchy, they put people ahead who are from countries that have literally attacked the United States. They will embrace their enemies before they embrace you. They will embrace their enemies before they embrace Black people who have shown unbelievable amounts of dedication to this country. You know, that makes me think about Joe Louis and his old silly ass. I'm just gonna say silly ass because Joe Louis was a coon. I mean, and it wasn't his fault. You get raised the coon, you get infected with the coon virus. You can't help it sometimes. He's mentally ill. But Joe Louis, you know, had a set of rules when he was boxing. They told him little things like you can't be seen in public with a white woman. Check. When you beat a white man, you can't gloat about it. You can't brag and raise your hand like you you the champion. You know, so you got to be humble. Check, right? You know, they gave him a bunch of other rules that he had to follow as a black man. It was like check. He did everything he's supposed to do. And you can't hang out with Jack Johnson because that Negro is a troublemaker, right? Check. So Jack Johnson, when Jack Johnson reached out to mentor Joe Louis said, "Get away. I'm down with white folks." He's trying to earn his meritorious manumission. Meritorious manumission, if you recall, is the reward that black people have received by or have always historically received for supporting white people. So Joe Louis is doing all the right things according to the rules of white people, and he's avoiding black people who are too radical. He is following all their rules. He's doing everything they tell him to do, and then he really goes out of his way to show you how devoted he is to America. So Joe Louis goes in the height of his career, making all kinds of money. He volunteers for World War II. He volunteers. Now, he's Joe Louis. He's heavyweight champion of the world. They're not going to make him go out here and really pull out a gun and fight. But he would go and do these exhibition matches, you know, get out there and fight and kind of rally the troops and get them all, excited and boost them morale, right? Again, earning meritorious manumission. One of the ways to earn meritorious manumission was to entertain white people. Entertaining white people, protecting white people, and rejecting and telling on black people who were too radical are the ways to earn your meritorious manumission. Joe Louis checked off all those boxes. So Joe Louis comes home, right? Check it out. Pay attention. This is important. Number one, the IRS basically, if I'm not mistaken, I got to go look up the exact details, but they did something financial that pretty much fucked Joe Louis in the ass. Here's what they basically did something where they took his exhibition matches and they taxed him as if he had been earning all this money while he was in the military. So what happened was during the period in which he was trying to express his commitment to the US government, they put him so deep in debt with taxes that he never got out of debt. Joe Louis died a broke ass man because he fell so far behind in his taxes during that period where he was going out of his way to tap dance for white folks, right? Number two, check this out. Joe Louis fought Max Schmeling, who was a Nazi, who was part of the Nazi party in Germany, right? After World War II, if I'm not mistaken, I gotta double check this, but Max Schmeling comes over to the United States and gets a job, gets a gig with Coca-Cola, making all kinds of money as a Coca-Cola executive. Joe Louis can't get hardly nothing. All he can do is get a job as a security guard. And so they embraced a Nazi who hated America over a black man who gave everything for America. So Joe Louis, literally, they put him in line behind the enemies of this country. And this man showed patriotism that I don't have. I don't have that much patriotism. I can't muster that much patriotism. I'm not gonna mess up my money going to serve white folks like that. That does not compute in my brain. But that just shows you how deep this is in terms of black people being pushed to the back of the bus. Even if y'all built the bus, bought the bus, drove the bus, designed the bus, like they still gonna put you in the back of the bus. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Also, just as a reminder, if you want your kids to learn how to be entrepreneurs over the Christmas break, there's a 75% discount on a lifetime membership in our new entrepreneurship program for kids. You can go to blackceofactory.com. That's blackceofactory.com. So the toast says Joe Louis had to keep fighting. What happened is the tax rate changed and they applied the new 90% tax rate to his previous earnings and applied interest. Okay, thank you for giving me those details. But basically he got screwed. If Joe Louis had been making paper during that time that he was giving up all that money to go and volunteer for this war, Joe Louis probably would have been able to die a wealthy man. But this is what happens. You dance with the devil and the devil's going to feel your booty. So, at the end, when it all boils down to it, You can only blame Joe Louis for his situation. You can't blame nobody else. So let me now. How does this translate back? Let's jump away from the conversation about patriotism. Colin Kaepernick is correct in his protest. Like everything he's saying is right. Like we take a knee, we're making a point that this police brutality thing sucks. This is not anti-America. Black people are very patriotic. That has been established in this conversation. And it took me a couple minutes to get to Kaepernick. And then that's why these conversations are for intelligent Black people. If you're a Negro with a 30-second attention span, you need to go watch a Cardi B video or something. Like, this is not the place for you. But if you want to understand and sort of deprogram yourself and understand how America works, sometimes it requires us to flesh it out. Okay, so let me kind of go through this. I'm gonna start by kind of showing you. I'm gonna not screenshot, but I'm gonna screen share Colin Kaepernick's his Twitter account. I follow Cap on Twitter, and again, this is not anti-Colin Kaepernick at all. I appreciate his sacrifice, but I want to kind of talk about this a little bit so we can understand this. And the reason it came up was because I was trying to decide with my friend who's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I was trying to decide with my friend the other day. Her name's Nicole Price. I said, should we feel guilty for watching football now? Like, I thought we weren't supposed to be watching NFL football, but I'm not really sure why we're protesting the NFL anymore. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm not sure. Like, what are we fighting for again? I forgot. Right. And I was like, well, why did we all as a community kind of forget? I think it's because I'm not sure if Cap even remembers why the protest was happening. And again, Cap's a young dude. So it's not really beating him up on this. It's really kind of me schooling him on kind of like, this is what people are seeing. This is what intelligent Black people are able to see here. Shallow people kind of just see you maybe as like a sports version of a Barack Obama, like a person that has a lot of value when it comes to symbolism, but not much substance, like you're exalted by white folks and they love you, but are you really particularly out here really doing the hard work, for Black people, really truly putting it on the line anymore? It's hard to say. I'm not going to say it is or isn't true, but it is what it is. So let's look at Cap's Twitter account. And what I want to kind of do is go through some of the tweets, and I want you to pay attention to kind of what he talks about. Now, if you go to my Twitter account, which is actually Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, if you want to follow Dr. Boyce Watkins and the number 1. I can't have just Dr. Boyce Watkins because somebody literally stole my Twitter name. That's what happens when you become like pseudo famous. I'm not even super famous, but I'm a little famous. And when you become a little bit famous, people steal your Twitter name and then you can't use it. So don't go to Dr. Boyce Watkins, go to Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. And when you go to my Twitter page, you'll see me saying all kinds of crazy shit about all kinds of crazy shit. You'll see me addressing all kinds of issues that go all over the place, all kinds of things that would probably get me fired if I work for white people, or will probably keep white universities, make them too afraid to invite me in to come speak and all that. And it's okay. I've accepted this. Like, I want to be about that life. Like, that's the life I chose. I take responsibility for my words. I ain't taking shit back. I ain't apologizing for a goddamn thing. So anyway, so I'll kind of contrast, right? So, again, not saying that I'm any sort of gold standard. In fact, I don't think Colin Kaepernick should act like me. If he acts like me, he's going to lose every endorsement deal. Ain't nobody going to want to be his friend. His white friends are going to hate him. So he shouldn't act like me. But I'm just going to throw this out as kind of a prototype in the sense that, every day I wake up and I'm thinking about power, Black power. I'm thinking about how we as a community can be more powerful, how my family also can be more powerful, so that we can fight white supremacy, what we need to do as a community long-term in order to really flip this game on its head. So if you look at the Twitter, right? So let me show you. Here's some of my tweets. Okay, let's start here. This is where I'm sharing the fact that I'm live talking about Kaepernick. Okay, that's one thing. Here it says, honestly, I think most Black people don't remember why they were boycotting the NFL in the first place. And that was when I was talking about the Kaepernick thing. So let's keep going. Here's a news story about the Black mom who was attacked by the police and had her 1-year-old son yanked out of her arms. Here's some stuff about the Black Business School. Here's a video, Michi X, that I listed, where she talks about how Kevin Hart got bullied by white people and how white people always got Black people apologizing for shit, even when we didn't do nothing wrong. And yet, even when you get attacked, you up there apologizing. You forgiving and apologizing before the damn trial even begins. When Dylan Roof went up in there and shot all them Black people up in church, like they had Negroes in there apologizing for the fact that Dylan Roof was an evil motherfucker. Like, I don't get that. Like, why are you forgiving him before the trial begins? That's truly sick. That's a really messed up mentality.
And then you keep going down, and then I say, oh, this is apologies. I was talking about the apologizing thing again. Oh, the Me Too movement. So I feel like the Me Too movement has been predatory toward black men. I feel that black men are in danger because of the Me Too movement. The idea that a white woman can just accuse you of a crime and have no evidence whatsoever that you committed a crime that was 30 years ago, allegedly, and there's no proof, and you can still get in trouble for that, should really scare you. I was talking to this kid from Stanford who came to my event the other day, who was talking about Nate Parker, right? This actually is a mild tangent. Let me shut this down so you can so I can see you face to face again. But this black kid from Stanford, I mentioned him yesterday, and he told me that at Stanford University, Nate Parker came, check this out. Remember, Nate Parker made Birth of a Nation. And he was also, and then right when the movie's about to come out, suddenly this whole conversation about him allegedly raping this white woman, again, no proof at all, but it all comes out, and that kind of ruins the movie. It ruins his big moment, destroys this black man. But it's okay. I mean, Nate chose that life, right? Nate married Becky. Nate is down with white folks. He trusts these people. So when your friends fuck you, you got to ask yourself, why do I choose these friends? But anyway, but he didn't deserve it, though. He didn't deserve it. It was what it was. So check it out. So he said that Nate Parker comes to Stanford, right? Nate gives a rousing speech. Everyone loves it. People think it's great. Now, the black feminists are like, well, I think that some of what he said was problematic. But of course, some of them are just trained to hate black men, period. Like to just think black men are scum of the earth, Neanderthal, piece of shit motherfuckers who ain't worth a nickel unless we're gay. Okay, fine, whatever. Like, just shut up. Okay, so anyway, so I'm kidding. No, I know a lot of women who take that label feminist, and a lot of them are not bad, but some of them embrace white feminism. White feminism is the enemy of the black man. White feminism is Margaret Sanger soldiers basically looking to find ways to exterminate black people in every way that they possibly can. So white feminism is an endangerment to black people. Some versions of black feminism are okay. Black womanism is a support mechanism to the black family. So if you want to know where I stand, I'm a womanist, right? Okay, so anyway, let's get back to this. So he said 1 year Nate Parker comes in to speak at Stanford. Everybody loves it, gives a great speech. Oh my God, he's so brilliant, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Next year, there's the whole scandal, right? So during this year, this whole story comes out. Anybody remember that story? Tell me if you remember that story. Where this white girl, who was she sounded like she was a thotty. Like I'm talking about like a girl that would like get down real fast. Like she was literally giving him oral sex like within 45 minutes of the time that she met him, which I didn't even know people like that were out there. I mean, my God, I guess they exist. I just never met them when I was in college. But anyway, so basically they had an experience, and then they end up having some kind of crazy threesome. I was like, where are all these threesomes happening in college? It didn't happen in my college. Some of y'all, I guess, had y'all experiences. I'm not judging. It is what it is. Just put on a condom. So they had this threesome thing, and I guess everybody's high and drunk, which is a big problem on college campuses. Too much alcohol, too many drugs. That's why bad things happen. But nobody listens to me. I brought it up in Syracuse a million times. People thought I was crazy. And I was like, okay, yeah, just keep letting your young people die and get accused of rape and getting raped. Then, I mean, I'll just sit here and be quiet, because apparently I'm uncool because I don't believe it's good to just drink until you vomit every weekend. So a few days later, she calls him up, and she secretly, illegally records the conversation, and is like, you raped me. And he's like, again, not knowing he's recorded as a 19-year-old kid, he's like, no, I did not rape you. And she's like, yes, you did. And he's like, no, you were participating. You were grabbing the dick. Like, you were doing things that showed that you were actively participating. And basically, it was one of those conversations it sounded to me when I read the transcript, because I'm reading the transcript thinking, maybe this guy really is a rapist. I'm not going to support no rapist. Just so you know, if you're a rapist, I ain't got your back. I do not have your back if you rape anybody. But I'm reading the transcript. I'm like, wow, this guy really sounds like he really sounds like he doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Like, I'm reading it. I'm like, wow, he doesn't even know he's being recorded. He's 19 years old. He sounds like if I'm reading this, put it this way. Remember, guilt in the court of law should be based on not having any reasonable doubt. There was plenty of reasonable doubt. So even if you didn't think he was innocent, there's no way you could believe he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, because he was clearly like, what are you talking about? You were participating. You were the aggressor in some situations. Like, what are you saying, right? And so it was another one of those scenarios of white women not being forced to take accountability or responsibility for their behavior. Again, you know, black men in the NFL, 99% of them have brain damage. 99% of them are probably prone to violent outbursts from the brain damage they take from being hit on the field. But when you see a black man like your boy Kareem Hunt or your boy, what's his name, the guy that played for the Ray Rice, you know what I'm talking about? When they are in a violent altercation, they're forced to take full responsibility for their behavior. They can't, you know, put it on the fact that they've been getting bashed upside the head, you know, 20,000 times on the football field, right? But white women can put the blame for their behavior on other people. White women can say, I only did this because, you know, I'm a feeble little dumb little white woman and he tricked me into this, right? Like literally, right? 1 minute you're like, I am woman, hear me roar, I'm equal to men, I'm powerful. Next minute you're like, I'm just a feeble little woman and he just tricked me into it and he made me do it. He made me suck his dick. You know, like what? I don't understand. Like you know, are you self-determined and able to make your own decision, or are you this you know, fragile little brainless you know, puppet that can be manipulated by some sort of magical hypnotism that we men possess, right? You know, seriously, like, to me, I'm sorry, if you get drunk and you get high and you go fuck, then that's fine. I hope that you are happy with your decision. I'm not judging you, but don't come out of that and say, well, I'm not taking responsibility for all the liquor I put in my body. I'm not taking responsibility for the fact that I was smoking weed and meth and heroin and whatever the hell. I'm not going to take responsibility for the fact that I popped enough mollies to kill a horse. And, you know, it's his fault. No, it ain't his fault. It's your damn fault. You did it, right? So anyway, so this lady, you know, does this thing, tries to trap him into admitting something or whatever, because I think she's feeling really bad about herself, which she should. If that was my daughter, I'd be like, what are you doing? You know, like that's not, you're not supposed to do that, but whatever. And Nate, you know, answers the questions in a way that didn't appear to destroy any or to make him look guilty at all. I didn't see anything there. So years later, this poor girl, because she's making all these bad decisions, apparently, you know, kills herself, right? Kills herself years later, like 10 years later. They tried to blame Nate for the fact that she killed herself a decade after the alleged incident took place. So think about this. You knew somebody in college, y'all got high and drunk and had a crazy night of wild sex. They're trying to say that it's your fault because you seduced them into the sex. I wish I could go and get like money every time a woman seduced me into doing something stupid, because I done did a whole lot of dumb shit over a girl. You know, like, right? Like, I wish I could go back and be like, I'm suing you because you tricked me and you manipulated my feeble little mind and convinced me to buy you that new car, whatever. Whatever. So years later, this person that you had a wild night of sex with while you were high and drunk goes and kills themselves 10 years later. And they're blaming you for the fact that that person chose to kill themselves. That's kind of crazy, right? I mean, can you imagine if I killed myself? God forbid, I would never do this. So if the government ever comes out and says, well, you know, news report, Dr. Boyce Watkins, noted scholar Dr. Boyce Watkins has committed suicide, I need y'all to go into like real investigative mode, because I just look me in my eyes when I tell you that suicide ain't in my DNA. I ain't killing myself for shit. You're going to have to take me out with a bullet. I'm not, and it won't be my bullet. Just make sure we're clear on that. But can you imagine if I did commit suicide and then I somehow convinced you that it's somebody else's fault? You know, you would not buy that. You would say that's stupid, Boyce. What are you talking about? It's personal responsibility. So the point here was that Nate Parker goes through this whole controversy where they're blaming Nate for the fact that this white woman killed herself, right? And so the student at Stanford said, you know, so first year when Nate comes in, everybody loves him. Oh, he's so great, he's so brilliant. Ah. And then the second year after the accusation with no proof, they're like, we don't want a rapist on campus. The black feminists are like, get in this rapist. Don't bring this rapist back to campus. And you know, we need to stand with the victim. You're attacking the victim. And he said, I was saying to them, like, well, you don't really know who the victim was. How do you know who the victim was? If he was falsely accused, he's the victim, not her. No, he's not the victim. She's the victim, and you must believe women. What's like women can't lie? Like women are too dumb to be able to lie? No, the women I know are very smart, and women are able to lie just like men are. So it doesn't mean at all on any level that you assume people are lying. It just means that it's mind-boggling to any intelligent person that people fall for this bullshit. Like it's literally like the dumbest set of arguments I've ever heard in my life. Like take it from, I'm a professor. It's literally some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard. It's like 1 + 1 = -585.4. What kind of white woman math is that? Like really? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. You know, like for black people, it's like 10 + 12 + 1,000 = 0. Like that's the math. That's black people math. 10 + 12 + 1,000 = nothing, right? You do everything and you get nothing in return. But for white women, it's like 1 + 1 + 5 = whatever the fuck I want it to be, right? Like it's gonna equal whatever I want, and that's why black people end up losing in these sorts of debates. That's why I tell you again, I warn you and your sons, like be careful. You know, you hanging out with Becky, bad things can happen. So anyway, let me keep going. Hit the thumbs up button, please. Take 1 second, please hit the thumbs up button. Also, if you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. If you want to get a text alert when I go live, text my name, text Boyce to 31996. Just text Boyce to 31996. All right, so we're talking about Colin. We really are talking about Colin Kaepernick. I swear to God. But you know me. I kind of will travel around the world to really zoom in on the topic. To understand a topic, you must see it from different angles. So with the whole, kind of black liberal ideology, black people end up losing because these alliances and partnerships that black people form with other people outside the community, we think they serve the benefit of increasing our numbers, but they actually hurt us because it dilutes the core of what we're seeking to do and what we deserve and what we need to do as black people. And so it also disperses our energy into directions that don't make any damn sense. So basically, circling back around to Colin Kaepernick, it's sort of like this interesting thing where, with Kaepernick, I'm trying to figure out what the end game is, with Kaepernick. And so let me go back to, I'm gonna go back to show you guys, like again, as an example, I was showing you kind of what a crazy radical Negro might put on his Twitter page, like a black man who never wants to ever be able to apply for a job for the rest of his life. Like white people will never hire me. If you're white and you hire me, that you're pretty much stupid because unless you're just really, really evolved, you're probably going to be offended by me and threatened by me. So I just want to give white people a warning, like just avoid hiring Negroes like me unless you're ready, unless you're really ready for the for real truth. Like I represent black people and that's just what it is. All right. So anyway, so going into here, here's another example. I think I put a warning about America and American spending habits and how Americans are just really, really bad when it comes to how we spend our money compared to the rest of the world. Here's another story by Dylan Roof. This is from Your Black World News. Keep going. This is a conversation about the LGBT community disrespecting Sandra Bland. You guys can check that out if you want to see what Michi X has to say about it on flynewbeingqueentv.com. Also, here's a statement about black college students. Black college students should self-finance their organizations so they aren't forced to embrace the racist white liberal agenda as a condition for receiving funding. You have to learn to start your own businesses and raise money so you don't have to beg a racist institution to fund you. This is almost like a new way of kind of analyzing racism. The term racist white liberal agenda needs to be used more often because we don't understand how racist white liberals actually are. White liberals are very paternalistic. White liberals undermine authentic black agendas. White liberals, they undermine authentic black leadership and they try to replace it with what they consider to be more acceptable black leadership. So what happens is a lot of our black college students go to these campuses and they find themselves in these situations where they have to become a pre-approved Negro. Just like you got a pre-approved credit card or a pre-approved for a loan or for your house, you got pre-approved Negroes who are able to then get access to resources as long as your ideas have been pre-approved by the white racist institution. As long as your agenda is pre-approved by white folks, as long as you have received your good nigga sticker by engaging in behavior that they define to be acceptable. So what I argue is that I think black college students, in order to avoid the brainwashing that is inevitably going to happen when you are committing your life to white racist institutions, starting with your college and then later on with a corporation, the only way you can truly be free to have true intellectual freedom, true freedom of thought, true freedom of speech is if you get the fuck off that campus, raise your own damn money, form your organization, get with your other students, right? That's cool. But two things you should do as a black college student. One, get together with your friends, start a business so you can learn how to have your own money and not have to go beg white folks to give you money. And then you can get out of debt. You won't be stuck in debt as long, because entrepreneurs tend to have opportunities to make money that jobs don't pay. But then two, as you start a business, remember, economics fuels authentic activism. If you have an economic base to your activism, then you have a type of freedom that you don't have if you're just an activist or if you're just in business, right? If you're just an activist who doesn't understand economics, then inevitably your activism is either going to be co-opted or undermined by the fact that you can't pay your bills. The only reason even Dr. King and other people were able to do certain things in the 60s was because they had black business owners who were able to fund their operation, fund what they were doing. You had got people like John Johnson in Chicago, Aretha Franklin, would send money to Reverend Jesse Jackson and Dr. King and bailed out Angela Davis. So ultimately though, it's better if you have both in one shop. If you're an activist and you also understand business, then you can make sure your bills are paid while you're out here fighting the power and taking on the world. So I believe black college students should have a model where they say, we want to form our organizations, but we need to really stay black. We need to make sure that black people, we need to adopt a black first policy, which means that, before we align with anybody else's value systems, we are aligning with our people back home. We're thinking about our people back home before we're thinking about the gay guy across the hall. We're aligning with our people back home before we're thinking about the undocumented immigrant that's in my class. I'm aligning with my people back home before I sit with that white feminist over there and hear what she's got to say. I got problems back home. My job, my number one job, the reason I'm going out and getting an education is so I can bring it back home, so I can ultimately build up my community, not so I can go out here and integrate into this whole other world and literally be a non-asset, a non-entity to the black community. Part of the reason the black community loses is because your smartest people leave. Your smartest people go away. Their goal is like, I'm gonna get the fuck up out the hood. How you helping the hood if your goal is to get out the hood? How you helping the hood if your goal is to leave? Like if I'm a father and my children are sick and my children are suffering, and I want to help my children, and I say, oh, I'm gonna really help y'all by getting the fuck up out of here, then you'll have one less mouth to feed, right? Like that's not, I'm not helping my family if I abandon my family, right? I'm not helping my kids if I choose to be a deadbeat. So we need to get rid of the deadbeat Negro ideology. The deadbeat Negro ideology is that, that you can leave the community and go sit with white folks and be successful and send postcards back home and shit, and that somehow you're helping the black community by doing that. No, if I'm a father and my children are sick and my children need me, I am not helping my children if I say, well, I'm going to just leave and I'm not coming back, and I'm gonna send y'all postcards from the beach and show y'all how good I'm doing, because those postcards will be inspiration to show you that you should all be feeling good because daddy's doing really well. No, they're gonna look at me like, what the hell, daddy? Like, we need you. Right? So we need our educated black people to really come back to the black community, not to feel that they need to go be a part of somebody else's community. But that's what's happening to the majority of black college students, which is why it's very, very important that they form and fund their own organizations. Find a way to do it. I can help you guys with that. We can do, in the Black Business School, we can even do support groups to kind of give you ideas on how to pull that together. I don't know, but we can figure this out. Okay. So anyway, let me show you. So let me show you a contrast. Let me show you Colin Kaepernick's page so we can kind of see sort of the things on this page that kind of disturb me a little bit, or not really disturb me, but make me think a little bit. Like, okay, what's really the end game here? What are we really trying to do, right? So you look at the page, it starts off with the quote from the Nike ad. So that feeds into what the point I want to make here about Colin Kaepernick kind of being a corporatized symbolic icon. Like, that's kind of what he's like. He's a corporate brand now, kind of a corporate, and it's okay to be a corporate brand. But when you're a pure corporate brand and it's owned by white people, let's make no mistake about it, Nike's not a black-owned company. there's only so many things you can do. There's only so much wiggle room you really have. And so if you look at Kaepernick's, site or platform or Twitter account, it starts off with the Nike ad. Then there's something about Eric Reed. Eric Reed, another player in the NFL who's been taking a knee, who's been getting a lot of flack for that. He has a lot of posts. I'd say about 40% of his posts are about Eric Reed. Like he's really, really into what's going on with Eric Reed. Eric Reed, almost like to the point of it, almost seeming like kind of an obsession or something. Like he talks about Eric Reed a lot on his page. And now, mind you, I think it's good to support Eric Reed. I think Eric Reed is doing the right thing by taking a knee, but I'm not really sure how continuously supporting Eric Reed necessarily translates into a benefit for the Black community. So then here's another one. This is a kind of a little promo video somebody did. Let me turn this off. Somebody did a little video where they showed some clips of Kaepernick. I'm gonna turn the music off because I don't want to get a copyright issue with YouTube. Yeah, so it's like a video of him playing football and showing, like what a great player he was. And then then he does retweet this video of a black man being punched in the jaw by a Louisville police officer, which that's my hometown, so I'm embarrassed by that. But that's good. That's good. So a lot of times Cap won't make statements. He'll usually retweet stuff, which is fine. I mean, I understand that you're kind of speaking indirectly about the issue, and I think that's fine. But then you keep going deeper. Here's another one. He shares another video. It looks like.
When cops were called to the Bloomfield home.
Okay, so this is a police brutality issue, apparently, it looks like. And then, and so what I've noticed is that, and I'll stop with that for now. Cap is allowed to talk about police brutality because that's kind of his number one focal point. That's his number one agenda item. That's the one thing that white people are okay with, right? His white liberal allies, I think, are down for they like white liberals have given Black people permission to talk about police shootings. They've given Black people permission to talk about it. So Black people are really drilling in because we wait for permission from white people. White people give us our cues on what's okay to really address. If white people suddenly start talking about reparations, Black people would start talking about reparations, especially those who kind of follow behind the Democratic Party and everything. What's not really allowed, are things that relate to the killings of Black people that happen at the hands of other Black people. Like a Farrakhan can talk about Black on Black killings, right? I'm not going to use the term Black on Black crime because somehow somebody decided that doesn't exist. But I can just tell you most of the Black men I know who've been murdered were not murdered by white people. They were not murdered by cops. They were murdered by other Black people. Now, some people say, well, no, that's just every ethnic group has that issue where, they kill each other. That's cool. But most of us also know that there's a lot of Black neighborhoods. Again, this is due to white supremacy. But most of us know that there are Black neighborhoods where you just don't feel safe at all. Like you really think there's a really good chance you're going to get robbed or shot. I really don't go into too many white neighborhoods where I feel that way. Doesn't mean that it's safer to be around white people. We know white people have their issues, but it's kind of like we know that our community needs to be kind of cleaned up a little bit on this white supremacy issue. And when we ignore that, we allow the problem to fester. Because what you're basically saying is that when you're over-focused solely on police shootings of Black men, what you're saying is that if you're a Black man who has the misfortune of being killed by another Black person, nobody's going to say a word. We're not going to talk about that because maybe we see that as airing dirty laundry or whatever. Here's another thing. Another thing that's let me show you. Let me screen share Cap's Twitter account again. If you go further down, he retweets this I guess this Twitter account called Left sent this. He retweets them a lot. Like maybe 20% of his tweets are from this Left page where it's and it's cool. It's like Black radical stuff, talking about again police shootings. That's kind of a big agenda item for him. And Fred Hampton. I mean, that's cool. Like that's good Black stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I think though, and what it kind of does is it's like a lot of Black activism is aligned with the liberals. It's aligned with the left. And that's when you get into, following behind the Democratic Party, or you get into socialist agendas or communist agendas, right? And unfortunately, what the challenge is that Black people can't really necessarily rise up with a purely communist kind of agenda. I don't believe that that's really going to necessarily work. I think some elements of that agenda can be beneficial. But what I saw when I was pulled in by people from the left they called me because they know that I'm friends with Cornel West, and they reached out to me on a police brutality issue. And next thing I know, I was being recruited for the Communist Party. And I walked away from that because I said, I'm not communist. I don't want to be communist. I don't want to be a Democrat. I don't want to be a Republican. I'm just black. Like, I'm blackist. So if you bring me into a space where there's black people who are truly free to be on the left, to be on the right, to be in the middle, I don't give a fuck, as long as you black first. So ultimately, a lot of black folks go to the left because they feel that that's kind of where we're most understood. But I think that sort of following the leftist agenda in lockstep doesn't always benefit us as a community. And it certainly doesn't help us build a lot of economic power, because there's not a lot of conversation on the left about building businesses and building economic institutions that will allow the black community to truly get strong. That's why you see a lot of people on the left that are, super radical, but they broke as fuck. So if you woke and broke, then you're going to be a joke. In America, if you woke, you can't be broke. If you woke, you need an economic foundation. So where's your economic foundation going to come from if you have no businesses in your community, or you're so far to the left that you think every person who owns a corporation is the devil, right? That's what I would kind of hear, is that, they would talk about people making money and business owners like they're terrible and they're oppressing people. And it's like, no, some of these people are out here creating jobs. Some of these people are finding a way to make a way for their family. Some of these people are really doing great work for the black community. So we cannot demonize and vilify everybody who builds a company. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So anyway, let me keep going. So you keep going down, right? And so a lot of the tweets. So here's another one where he's repping his merchandise, right? He's very corporate. He's selling, a lot of his stuff, and it's fine. I mean, nothing wrong with selling your stuff. I mean, like I just told you guys, there's nothing wrong with Cap making money, or anybody making money. You need money. Cap needs money, right? So he sells a lot of his stuff. He also has this thing from the Know Your Rights camp. So as I was kind of going through his, and again, selling more Nike gear, right? So he's showing, so Nike's kind of taken this activism thing and said, okay, we're going to corporatize this, because people love Cap, and we're going to back Cap, and we're going to make money at the same time. I don't think there's a whole lot wrong with that, because Nike's got to make their paper. They got to make their money. Cap deserves to make money. And the activism is important. Nike could have easily backed some boot wearing redneck if they wanted to, but they backed Colin Kaepernick. They deserve credit for that. I think that what is a challenge, though, is that corporations, by their very nature, have to be conservative. Like, they can't really do the kind of work that black people really need done in the community. See, there's more Eric Reed, more from this site, from this left said this site, right? So remember I told you, like, Eric Reed is kind of everywhere, right? The more Eric Reed, right? Everything's Eric Reed. So I guess they go way back. I guess they're homies, or they're really close or something like that. But he's kind of talks about Eric Reed a lot. But the thing is, corporations by their nature are very conservative. I understand corporations. I'm a business school professor, and the conservative nature of corporations implies that there's only so much work a black corporation, or excuse me, a white corporation is going to ever be able or willing to do on behalf of the development of the black community, right? There's only so far that Nike will go. There's only so far that Cap can go, given that he's down with Nike. And I think that with Cap, it's kind of like the theme I see on his page is a lot of stuff about Eric Reed, a ton of stuff about Eric Reed, a lot of stuff about Nike gear, like t-shirts that say "I'm with Cap," some of that. A lot of stuff about his reinstatement into the NFL, about him, right? Help me make money, help me get back into the NFL, support my friends, right? A lot, he retweets stuff from this left site and Know Your Rights, and that's pretty much it, right? And so I was trying to figure this out as I was talking to my friend and saying, are we supposed to still be boycotting the NFL? Like, am I allowed to even know that the Dallas Cowboys are leading their division? Like, am I a coon because I know this fact? And both of us kind of concluded. We said, well, what are we protesting for anyway? Like, what exactly? What's the new agenda item, that Colin Kaepernick is pursuing? Like, what risks is he taking at this point that are going to push the black people forward? Because I said, look, Cap is in a better place. Cap took a chance. He took a knee. He should be thankful for that. But Cap is now making more money than he ever would have made as a football player. NFL careers are not that long. Cap probably would be closing in on retirement by now. So, Cap is not going to suffer. And I can't say I'm going to boycott the NFL to protect Colin Kaepernick or to help him get his job back. Now, and I don't even know what a firm boycott really does at this point. Maybe you guys can kind of help me figure out like what that means. And then somebody's mentioned it here. Oh, that's a good point. Boss bitch ambitions. That's a great Twitter. That's a great Instagram. That's hilarious. She says nobody followed through with Black Lives Matter. That's true. So what will happen a lot of times is that there are these movements that occur, and they take off like a rocket. Everybody's talking about it, but there's no clear long-term agenda item or set of agenda items that specifically help Black people. When I was in Denver, I was impressed with Michi X because Michi X came in with a Black agenda that she believes Black people should pursue consistently as families for good in order to elevate our status as a community. That's the kind of stuff that makes sense to me. Just getting riled up for a little while doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you're on Instagram, I'm gonna bring you guys right back. An hour is up, so it's gonna cut us off, but I'm bringing you guys right back. Do me a favor, by the way, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at The Real Boyce Watkins. So if you go to The Real Boyce Watkins, you can follow me on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button and the share button. Share this video. If you're on Facebook, I'm in Facebook jail, so I literally have no ability to do anything on Facebook for now. I think I'll be out of jail maybe about 8 or 9 days, but I'm a repeat offender, so they're gonna lock me back up again anyway. So I'm pretty much waiting for that. But go to Facebook or someplace and share the video if you can. Also, we actually have a Facebook for Black people. It's a social media platform called Blag Enough. BLAGGENUF, Blag Enough. Are you Blag Enough? If you're Blag Enough, then come to blagenough.com. It's a social media platform just like Facebook that allows you to have complete freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want, and we'll never ban you for anything. So it's BLAGGENUF, dual or soul natura. If you could type it in, I'd appreciate it. All right. So here's the thing. I think that with Cap's agenda or Cap's work. I think that, it's kind of like what I really see there now is I see, especially when you have these white liberal allies that will only allow you to do so much. Cap's two constraints are, number one, he's really connected and getting supported by white people. And white people only have a certain capacity to understand what Black empowerment really looks like. White people have like a lot of the people who love Colin Kaepernick will be deeply offended by people like me, right? A lot of the white people who love a Kaepernick, they really wouldn't be happy to hear some of the things that I have to say, right? So they only have a certain stomach. They can only stomach so much when it comes to truly strengthening the Black community long term. The second constraint Cap is dealing with is, this deal with Nike. I think it's wonderful for him. I'm very happy that he's making money, from what he did. I think it's awesome. But again, corporations are only going to go so far with you. They're only going to get so radical with you. So you're not going to see Kaepernick do a Muhammad Ali type thing. He's not a Muhammad Ali. He's nothing like Ali because Ali was willing to keep throwing away money in order to pursue things he believed in. Ali would jump in the middle of one new controversy after another, say what needed to be said, and even piss off Black folks in order to make his point. And I don't think that Cap has that in him. I think Cap is kind of like he's sitting back like as this sort of very like beautiful icon. Like look at me, I'm an icon, y'all. I'm just an icon. I'm going to just be silent and just be like a living statue, a statue that's breathing, and you can just worship me and idolize me. And it works. It works in America because in America we like symbolism more than we like substance. That's why Barack Obama is such an icon to so many people. Most of these people can't point to anything that Barack really truly did for Black people. They can say, hey, he was the president. That's pretty awesome. It felt good every day to wake up knowing that a Black man was president of the United States. And for some Black people, that means a lot. But I think that where my thinking has evolved to is that it's to the point where it's like, okay, so how's that really going to change your freedoms as a human being? How's that really going to affect your shitty life as a Black person where you're working for white people and kissing up to them every single day, and you're not happy with your existence? You don't feel empowered. Cousin Pookie's going to jail. So Uncle Rerun got shot, and you're dealing with all kinds of chaos in your family. Family can't stay together, can't stay married. Any of that, right? So a lot of the conversations about Black empowerment are conversations that have to occur when we put white people out of the room, because for Black people to really be strong, we really have to center in on the things that make us unhappy, the things that create our misery in the first place. Of course, it all starts with white supremacy. We know this, right? But then it's like, okay, when we're dealing with that, what things really matter when it comes to empowering Black people? Well, They say that equality of life is measured by 3 factors, and that's typically measured by health, wealth, and relationships. Health, wealth, and relationships are typically the 3 things that matter the most in the life of a human being. So if you focus on those 3 things, health, wealth, and relationships, and you use that and you apply that model to strengthening the Black community, then what you get is this. You get this idea where you say, okay, if we want Black people to do better, one thing we got to do. Let's talk about what the fuck we eat. Let's talk about why we eating chitlins and hog mugs and pig's asses with hot sauce on them and died at the age of 45 of heart attacks and strokes and diabetes and kidney failure, because we're eating all the bullshit that is put in front of us, whether it's from a fast food restaurant or it's slave food that we think is real food, right? Let's just be real. I eat that stuff. I don't, I've eaten a lot, all that, bad stuff. And that's the issue we have to address, right? Because we can't, you're, like they say, your health is your wealth, and people are poisoning you, but you're asking for the poison. So it's kind of a joint venture in this destruction of Black people. You're participating in white supremacy. Like, Black people are down for Black genocide. Black people support and love Black genocide. We love the music that promotes Black genocide. We want that music. We cheer for that music. We put that music ahead of the healthy music, right? The same way some of us will grab the chitlins before we grab the vegetables, because we want to eat the chitlins. They don't have to make you eat the chitlins anymore. You choose the chitlins, right? So that's health, right? Physical health, psychological health, all this stuff. So we are really fucked up when it comes to our physical health and our mental health, because we're brainwashed from birth. Also, we brainwash each other in a negative way, and it's a mess, right? And not to mention the fact that we constantly re-traumatize each other. Wealth. We know about wealth gaps. I'm not as concerned about the wealth gap between whites and Blacks as much as I'm concerned about the wealth gap between where Black people are and where we could be. That's the gap I pay attention to. So I pissed off Black people because I said, I think the wealth gap is an illusion. And they said, why would you say that? You're a finance professor. You're full of shit. You're clearly a quack. And I said, yeah, I would have probably called myself a quack 2 years ago. So it took me about 25 years of studying finance at the highest levels, at a level higher than 99.999% of all people, for me to realize that it actually is an illusion. So if you're able to go bear with me for a minute, let me explain what I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's no gap. I'm not saying that white people don't have more wealth than Black people. What I'm saying is that if you look at the definition of an illusion is pretty much a little bit like a distraction. An illusion is something that you see and you focus on when you really could be focusing on something else that might be healthier for your mind. So an illusion might be a man who is sitting around obsessed that his ex-girlfriend is now fucking another man. Like, she's with another guy and it pisses him off. And he thinks that that's like the most horrible thing she could do, that she's a dirty, low down, raggedy, blankety blank, and that he hates her guts, and that it's wrong for her to do that. And he might be right. She might really be sleeping with another man. It might have been wrong for her to dump you. But the reason I would call that an illusion is not because it's not really happening. She might really be laying butt naked next to some other dude. That might be very real. But the fact that you're focused on that is really the problem. And that illusion, that image you're forming in your mind, that obsession you have with something that does not matter, is causing you to deteriorate your own mental health, to think negatively about yourself and about your situation, and to miss out on opportunities you might have to go meet a better girl, right? Because as long as he's sitting around obsessed and getting high and drunk every day because he's thinking about this girl who's across the country having sex with another guy, all that time could be spent building his life, making himself better, finding a better woman, and moving on, right? So when I say to Black people, it's the same thing. The wealth gap is an illusion, not because it's not true. We know white people got more money than God. We know this. That's an established fact. But I believe that our extreme obsession with white folks, our Eurocentric way of looking at Blackness, our Eurocentric Black identity, where we center everything around white people and what they're doing and what they did and how they acted and what they got and how it compares to us, that's a distraction in the sense that it causes you to miss out on your own greatness and your own potential and your own opportunity. Because you are so obsessed with seeing yourself as the disadvantaged, handicapped, disabled kid, you can't see all the power and opportunity that lies all around you. You can't see none of that because all you know how to do is to be depressed and downtrodden. You can't see power because all you know is oppression. All you know how to do is to be oppressed. All you know how to do is to see yourself as worthless. right? So when I said that the wealth gap was an illusion, again, a lot of Negroes, you know, again, people with short attention spans, they just read titles and then they start talking shit about your title. Didn't even watch the video, didn't do no analysis, just watch the title. And that's fine, I understand. But people like that, by the way, just for the record, I don't want them here. These are not the people I'm talking to. I'm talking to intelligent Black people. That's why it's intelligentblackpeople.com. But, you know, intelligent people understand that, you know, it's deeper than that, right? So ultimately, at the end of the day, these illusions, you know, are destructive for us. And when you talk about wealth, there is a wealth gap, but the gap is not the gap between white people and Black people. Who gives a motherfuck what white people have and what white people are doing? Stop worrying about what white people got and what white people are doing. The gap is the gap between where you are in your life and where you could be if you got your shit right. That's the gap. That's the only motherfucking gap you need to be thinking about. You need to be like, my gap is, shit, I lost 10 pounds last month, but I could have lost 15 if I had been eating right. That's a 5-pound gap. I shouldn't be sitting around saying, God, I lost 10 pounds last week, but I could have lost 40 pounds like the guy on TV, you know, on The Biggest Loser. Like that's an illusion. That's not something I should be focused on. I should be focused on the gap between where I am and where I could be if I was truly committed to reaching my goals. So for Black people, stop looking at America as this horrible place where you ain't got no opportunities because you Black. No, we should deal with racism. Be real about it. Be honest about it. Like, yeah, okay, white people, y'all suck. Y'all done did this horrible shit to us, and I'm not gonna forgive you. And you can do all of that. But after you get finished having the pity party and cussing them out, cuss yourself out after that. You know, cuss yourself out and say, come on, I can do better than this. Come on, family, we can do better than this. Come on, everybody, let's go build a house. Let's go buy a building. Let's go and invest. Let's go and teach our kids something better. Let's go and let's turn the TV off. Let's go and, you know, read a Powernomics book together. Let's go and do something that's going to make ourselves better. That's the gap you should focus on. So again, 3 criteria: health, wealth, and relationships. So we talked about health, we talked about wealth, relationships. Relationships are the core of everything. Black people can't build a lot of times because Black people can't get along with each other. Like, not all of us, but a lot of us. We traumatize the hell out of each other. We have a lack of trust, which impedes on our ability to form healthy marriages, which are the foundation of kingdom building. Also, it impedes our ability to do business together because Black consumers don't trust Black businesses. Black businesses don't like Black consumers. And so a lot of times you have conflict, right? But there's hope, right? There's hope in healing. There's hope in us studying the nature of relationships. There are techniques on how you can maintain healthy relationships with other human beings. If you're married and you don't know how to solve a problem in your marriage, that's the first sign you need to go read a book about resolving conflict in marriage. You need to go check out whatever it is. Dr. Shauna Etienne, you know, she's a relationship therapist. Go check out the Gottman Institute. Get advice from white people. If you, I don't care, whatever it takes, go find out how to have healthy relationships, because that'll help you to build with other people. Because the more you try to do stuff with other people, the more likely you are to run into conflicts. And if you don't know how to resolve those conflicts peacefully and productively, you will spend your whole life pissed off. Okay, so ultimately, at the end of the day, those are the 3 criteria that I think we can start with in terms of thinking about how we can build for the future. If you want something you can read, you can have a free copy of my book. It's called It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar. And in that book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, I pretty much talk about what I call the 4 foundations of the new paradigm for Black America. I believe Black people need to tear the building down and start with a whole new paradigm of thought. I think that everything you get from the public school is garbage. Everything you get from white universities about Blackness is garbage and unproductive garbage. What you get from media is unproductive and destructive garbage. I think we need to burn it down and build from the ground up. So the new paradigm basically focused on 4 key areas. Minister Louis Farrakhan and I did a whole lecture on this about 4 years ago. That was about 2.5 hours. It's really, really good if you can find it. And basically, the 4 pillars were wealth, education, family, and community. Wealth, education, family, and community. And I laid out each area and kind of how to think about each area. And my thinking was less evolved than it is now because it was 4 or 5 years ago. but it's still pretty good because I was pretty smart even 5 years ago. And you can have the book for free. So go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. Okay, Demetrius says, I love that book. Well, thank you, Demetrius. It's not a long book. It's very short. So you can read it yourself in a day. You can read it with your kids. And that'll help you kind of shape sort of what's going on. Because sometimes I know it may seem like I'm just bitching about stuff or that I'm just talking about stuff. And you're like, well, where's this guy getting at? Like, he's just talking. Like, I don't, like, what the fuck is he, you know? Well, there's a point to all this. There is a resolution at the end. And sometimes when you hear me kind of talking about it for a while, it's because I'm really trying to center in on this white supremacy thing and say, what exactly are we doing this for? Like, what is, like, why, you know, why am I a bad person because I know that the Cowboys are winning their division? Is it okay for me to know that? And I was like, yeah, it's all right for me to be a Cowboys fan, because at the end of the day, it really don't fucking matter if I check YouTube every now and then to see if the Cowboys won or not. Like, you know, I'm not putting money in Jerry Jones's pocket. I'm not doing anything for the NFL. I just think it's kind of cool to know that the Dallas Cowboys are doing well this year for the first time in 1,000 years. So I think, you know, going back to Kaepernick, I want to make this also very, very clear. I don't even know if Kaepernick is ever going to see this video. I mean, he's got millions of white people that love him. Why would you pay attention to me? But I want to make it clear to those who respect this guy that I don't have an issue with Cap. It's more so that I think, you know, we got to really sort of think about what we're trying to do as a community, and he can make his contribution, but we got to kind of see that for what it is, you know, and not expect him to, not put that pressure on him to be more than what he's willing to be. Right now, he's a corporate guy. Right now, he's Nike's man. You know, right now he's a white liberal activist, you know, who happens to be black, you know, and he can only cover areas that are what I call sanctioned blackness, you know, police brutality. I think it's police brutality. Oh, and voting rights. Those are the two things. These are the two things that black people are allowed to talk about, according to white liberals, usually. Voting rights and police brutality. Police brutality, because that's kind of like them throwing you a bone, like, okay, yeah, you know, the cops are killing you. Like, so we'll talk about that. And voting rights are always at the top of the white liberal agenda, because that's how white liberals stay in power. They only fight for black voting rights because they're doing a favor for themselves, not a favor for you. It's almost like me fighting for the right for my wife to have the nicest vacuum cleaner so she can vacuum my living room and keep my house clean. Like that, I'm not really fighting for her. I'm fighting for myself. But it sounds like I'm fighting for her because I'm like, baby, I want you to have the best cleaning utensils that you could possibly have, so that when you wash my car and clean my bedroom and clean out my bathroom and vacuum the living room, you can make sure that that shit is spick and span, so that when I come home, I'm feeling good every day, right? Like that's why you will see. I want you to pay attention. You know, whenever the Democrats are running for office, they're always going to raise a stink about black people losing their voting rights. And black people who are not advanced in their thinking, they go for this shit. You'll see prominent black commentators on CNN that'll be like, they're taking away voting rights in Alabama and they're blocking the polls in Georgia, and this is just unbelievable. Yeah, it is bad. You know, no, I'm not saying it's not bad, but I'm trying to ask you, like, why is it that's the only thing they'll talk about? They'll talk all goddamn day about voting rights, but will never even bring reparations into the motherfucking discussion. What? Think about this. Why would they talk all day about voting rights, but not say one word, not one word about reparations? The most blatant and you know, the most blatant elephant in the middle of the racial room that we've had in this country for the last 400 years. They won't say a word. If you talk to the white politicians about reparations, they will change the subject and go back to voting rights. Like, what about the fact that America owes black people $12 trillion for 400 years of unpaid labor, as well as a lot, you know, terrorism, you know, castrations, rapes, everything else. And they'll say, well, what really needs to happen is that we need to make sure all the voting rights are protected for every person in America. I mean, down in North Carolina, they were blocking black people. Yeah, okay, motherfucker. I know what you, I know. Yeah, we need to vote. We need voting rights. That's cool. That's good. And if you give me voting rights, I might vote for you if you address my issue. What about reparations? What about the fact that there's a massive wealth gap or wealth hole that's been created in the black community due to the fact that y'all spent, you know, 100 years stealing our shit and you ain't gave it back yet? Well, yeah, that's an important issue as well. But before we get to that, we really got to make sure every American has the right to vote, because, you know, voting rights are being stolen everywhere, and they don't want you. But your ancestors died for you to have the right. Yeah, okay, yeah, I know my ancestors are dead. Thank you for telling me that. They didn't die for me to vote for you though. They died for other reasons. They died for me to be free, not for me to put you in power. So let me ask you again, right? So you do that, and they will consistently change the conversation. And even Black people in the leadership class will go along with that. And they don't understand, I think, that they're being duped. Some of them maybe do, but I believe a lot of them they're just not that smart. So they don't understand this. They're not, there is such a thing as a Black person being too smart for TV. There is such a thing as a Black person being too smart for TV. Maybe I'm in that category. I don't know if I'm smart or stupid, sane or visionary or crazy. I have no idea. There's a thin line between all of that. I have no idea what I am. But you can only go so deep when it comes to the race conversation in America, because Americans can only go so deep as a collective because we're just an incredibly stupid group of people. We're just not highly educated on history. We don't support deep analysis on almost anything. We're not really trying to truly solve any problems. We're doing like the pharmaceutical industry, where we just want to find a quick, easy solution. We want to find a surface solution that makes us feel good, and we assume that that's the same as actually solving a problem. So here's some quick recommendations I would throw out if I was to sit down with a Colin Kaepernick. Let's say Cap said, hey, Dr. Boyce, man, you an asshole. You really shouldn't have been talking about me. You're hating right now, and I need to kind of know what do you want from me? Like I've done everything. I did the protest, and you ungrateful son of a bitch. What do you want from me? So here's what I would want. Here's what I think would probably add a little value and a little substance to a lot of this. One, you got to challenge these fucking white liberals. You need to challenge their asses and stop letting them think that they get a get out of jail free card when it comes to racism just because you a fucking Democrat or you are, you're a liberal. Like, or what, just because you came with me to the police brutality march, that's a good step, but I need you to really respect me as a Black person before I'm really going to align with you. I need you to understand why there are going to be moments where we're going to tell you to leave the room because we got to rebuild our community. You need to hear me when I tell you that, the civil rights movement and integration did not benefit our community, instead of writing me off as a radical Black person, right? Because you're not going to invite, every white campus will invite the speaker in who talks all day about how integration was so wonderful for Black people and that Black progress is some Black guy getting a job at IBM or becoming the CEO of Xerox. But they don't want to hear from Black people like the Claude Andersons who say, no, actually, when that Black man gets that job at Xerox, that's a win for Xerox. That's a loss for the Black community. Just like when the major leagues got Jackie Robinson, that was a major win for them, but a huge loss for the community. Also, when you challenge white liberals, you got to challenge them on why they'll talk all day about voting rights, but won't say a word about reparations. I'm telling you, I'm not voting for none of these motherfuckers until they start talking about reparations. I don't care. We can have 50 Donald Trumps in a row in the White House. I will not support any candidate who refuses to talk about reparations for Black people. If we got to suffer because of it, so be it. Black people already suffer anyway. It won't be a big change in my mind. I know people get mad and because people expect me to settle and just give in like, oh, well, Boyce, you got to vote because Trump is so bad. Yeah, but no, I'm not. I'm just not doing that. Number two, we can have conversations about Black on Black crime without being scared that we're undermining the white liberal agenda to talk about police brutality. I hate the fact that I got homies that have been killed by Black people and nobody talks about it. They act like they didn't die. Like what? So bullets that come from a Black man can't blow you through your brain the way a bullet from a cop can. Like what? So my homeboy Greg Wilkins, who got shot by a Black man by some niggas in the hood who ran up in his house and murdered him in front of his daughter. Like these people to me are worse than the fucking Klan. Like what are you talking about? Like we can't talk about Black on Black violence. Like it's not real. Give me a break. That's stupid. Long-term solutions. What are some long-term solutions? If we protesting, why we marching? What's the goal? What's the agenda? Let's talk. I mean, what is the vision for Black people? Like most of the activists, in my opinion, honestly, if you say like, what's the long-term play? What is the long-term vision that you have for Black people? Like where will Black people be in 100 years because of what you're doing right now? if you ask them that, I really don't think they have a clear vision. I think their vision is like, well, we want to have an equal society with inclusion and diversity and equal opportunity for all. That sounds like you telling me that you sound like you telling me a story about the Easter Bunny. Like I don't, that doesn't do much for me. That doesn't excite me. That doesn't, that's not gonna make me want to go and perform for my future wife. Like I can't get excited off of that. Like that don't do nothing for me. That emasculates me. That probably makes me unable to perform because I feel like some sort of disabled kid waiting for people to let him get on the basketball court and pretend like he can play basketball. Like seriously, like I literally, it's like seriously, like they really treat black folks like we're like the little kid in the wheelchair who's waiting for people to just kind of let him like play with the other kids. Like that doesn't do anything for me. I'm sorry, Black people, that's not a power move. That's not, it's not realistic. It's not a viable, productive outcome. All it will do is create more mental illness for Black people who are given the extreme misfortune of being hired by whites. You know, so you all get invited in. Let's say tomorrow, all of us got our dream job working with white people. You really think we're going to be happier as a result of that? You're not going to be happier because white people ain't going to stop being white. And waiting for white people to decide that they're going to end this whole racism thing is not realistic. They're not going to do that. They're going to never stop protecting their own. And so the only way to deal with racism is not to just go deeper into it and double down on it and go deeper into racist institutions and hope for the best. The way to combat racism is to get out. Is to get out and develop institutions of your own. And so when you ask me what's a long-term vision for Black people, my long-term vision is the Black core of three. The Black core of three. Black people can educate our own kids. Well, we got a string of Black-owned schools all around the globe where Black people are learning Black culture and how to be the best damn Black people they can possibly be, and how to build in the Black community as husbands, fathers, wives, and mothers, and all of that. And that's the first part. That's my first part of the vision. Secondly, the part of the Black core of three, create our own jobs. Well, we got more business owners, as many business owners as we have employees in the community. We have businesses on top of businesses, and these businesses are network with other Black people, hiring Black people, raising capital in capital markets driven by Black dollars. You know, Black dollars are coming into the community and swirling around and just kind of staying there, and then supporting Black businesses where Black people are like I'm hungry. Where's the Black restaurant? You know, I need some shoes. What's that Black shoe company again? You know, like Black people really supporting our own, keeping our dollars in the community to build those businesses and to build those schools so that we're safe, protected, and loved. You see, so the foundation at the end of the day is love. Love is literally when I kid you not, I swear to God, I've done mathematics at the highest levels that you can possibly go damn near. I've sat in classes with math PhD students. I didn't get a PhD in mathematics, but I've gone to those high levels. I've analyzed data on top of data, with all kinds of theories that would make your head explode. And when I get down to it, when I break it all down, I realize it takes me back to God. It takes me right back to God. And the reason it takes me back to God is because God, they say God is love, right? And so as I go back to God, I'm seeing love, and I'm seeing love as the driving force behind everything, right? And so if our children can grow up in spaces where they feel safe and they feel loved, then we win. Then Black people win, right? They feel safe and they feel loved. So that means, you know, you're loving yourself, you're loving each other, you're in spaces where there's love going back and forth. You know, like these Wakanda type situations, like when I was in Houston and we were all Black people in a room and we just had love for each other. We saw each other's potential. There was trust. There was extreme possibility in that room because you had Black people who were together who all just felt love for each other. And so if our children are growing up in those spaces where instead of going to a white public school where they feel like the teachers hate them, they're going to a Black school where they feel like the teachers love them, they're going to be better off. When you get up and you decide if you want to go to work or you want to run a business, instead of going into a corporation where you feel like everyone hates you and they don't want you there, you instead are going to a space where you feel that you're loved and protected, then you're going to be better off. You're going to be happier, right? And really that's kind of a vision, I think, that works, you know, for us as a community. So that's my vision in 100 years. My vision in 100 years is Black schools, Black businesses, and Black empowered people who feel loved and feel strong as a result and who feel protected. So that's going to require us to see blackness and black power and black advancement in a way that is not Eurocentric in our thinking. So instead of waiting for white people to come around, we're only waiting for black people to come around, right? Instead of waiting to try to get into a white institution, we're looking to build black institutions. You see? So really, when you talk about true black power, white people ain't got nothing to do with it. It's just like, I mean, they have a little bit to do with it because, you know, you got to kind of compete with them and stuff like that. But it's really all about you. All right. So maybe Kaepernick can get this. Like if Colin Kaepernick, you know, wants to be a great football player, yeah, part of it is about thinking about what the defense is going to do and what the other players are going to do and what the other teams are going to do when they try to attack you. You got to do that research, right? But a lot of it's about you. Like, are you spending time in the weight room? Are you working on your game? You know, how fast are you? How strong are you? How well do you throw the football down the field? If you got all that shit on lock, like if you're running a 4.3 40 and you can hit a pinpoint pass from 80 yards down the field and you are strong as a bull and you have been training to your fullest every single day, at that point, it really won't matter who you're playing against. You're always going to have a chance to win. So a lot of that analysis requires you to look inward and not always look outward. And I think that's what we got to do as black people. All right, I'm done. I swear I planned to talk for 15 minutes, but I just kept going. I hope that this conversation was beneficial to a lot of you. Do this, YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button. Everybody on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button. Also, if you want to follow me on Twitter, go to Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. If you want to get a text when I go live, text the word Boyce to 31996, text Boyce to 31996. If you want to learn stock market investing, as you know, in the Black Business School, we have a class on how to invest in the stock market. You can also get a degree from the Black Business School and all kinds of stuff. So right now for the month of December through Christmas, we have a 75% off discount where you can actually, for 75% off, get a lifetime membership in the program where you won't have to pay anything else after you pay that one time. So do it for yourself, or you can do it for somebody in your family if you want to give it to them as a gift. Feel free. Stock market investing, I know that extremely well, and this is 100 times better than any class you'll ever take at a university because I'm able to really teach at a level that's not even allowed in a university. I go really deep with this stuff. So and we break it down really well. So I think you're gonna like it. So feel free to go to theblackstockmarketprogram.com. That's THE, theblackstockmarketprogram.com. And there's a 30-day 100% money back guarantee if you're not happy for any reason, but you will be happy because everybody loves the Black Business School. We're really, really good at what we do. So take care, guys. I'm out of here. Have a good day. I'm about to go see Rock Newman. Hopefully I didn't lose my voice by talking so much, but I'll see you guys soon.